The WNBA has officially authorized a strike. 93% of players voted yes. Only 3 voted no. And here's what no one is talking about. Those 3 players might be the only ones thinking clearly right now.
Just to get you guys up to speed there, 93% of the players participated in the vote. So 93% of players in the WNBA. And how many is that? Could we do the math? I believe that there's 166 WNBA players times 0.93. Is that right? So 154 players voted and 3 players. So only 3 players voted no to the authorization of a strike.
Let's get the facts straight. 93% of WNBA players participated in the vote. With roughly 166 players in the league, that means about 154 voted. Only 3 voted against authorizing a strike. And while everyone is celebrating this so-called unity, I'm looking at the calendar. It's the off-season. There are no games, no work stoppage, no revenue being generated. So what exactly are they striking from? Their couches. This is like threatening to quit a job you don't currently have. The WNBA Players Association is framing this vote as a show of unprecedented solidarity, a united front ready to shut the league down if demands aren't met. Sounds powerful, right? Except there's one major problem no one wants to admit. This strike authorization is a bluff, and the league knows it. A strike only works when you have leverage. When withholding your labor actually hurts the other side. Right now, there is nothing to withhold. No season. No games. No income stream to disrupt. This feels less like a negotiating tactic and more like a PR move designed to pressure the league through public opinion rather than real economic leverage. And let me be clear. I'm not saying players don't deserve better pay. I'm not saying the league shouldn't invest more. What I am saying is that this strategy is questionable at best, and potentially disastrous at worst. Now let's talk about those 3 players who voted no. We don't know who they are, but I'd bet they're not the stars. They're not the players with unrivaled contracts, Project B deals, or major endorsement money. They're probably middle or lower tier players who understand something crucial. If there's a strike or lockout, they're the ones who suffer the most. Players like Breanna Stewart and Nafisa Collier own unrivaled. They'll get paid regardless. Top stars have overseas contracts and alternative income. But what about the 8th player on the bench making the league minimum? What happens to her when there's no season and no paycheck? Those 3 no votes represent the players who can't afford to gamble with their careers. And they might be the only ones being realistic about what a work stoppage would actually mean.
Wonder, with these 3 players that voted against the strike, if I were to guess, I would say that these 3 players were probably players who aren't big-time players. Because if a strike or a lockout happens, it's going to hurt those middle tier and lower tier players more than it's going to hurt any of the stars.
Think about it. If the WNBA season doesn't happen, where do fans go? Unrivaled. Project B. Suddenly, those leagues become the only option. I'm not saying that's the intention, but the optics are impossible to ignore. It's like restaurant owners negotiating the closure of their competition while claiming they're just fighting for worker rights. And here's an uncomfortable truth. Fans are not going to follow. Casual viewers who just discovered Caitlin Clark aren't going to hunt down new leagues, figure out streaming platforms, or jump through hoops to watch games. We've seen this before. When major podcasters moved exclusively to Spotify, only a fraction of casual listeners followed. That's why many of them eventually came back to YouTube. The same thing would happen here. The WNBA has spent decades building infrastructure, media deals, and visibility. You can't recreate that overnight. Unrivaled may have stars and funding, but it doesn't have the ecosystem. Project B is still a mystery. And neither league can absorb an entire WNBA roster, even if they wanted to. So when players talk about having options, they're overestimating their leverage. Because if there's number 2026 WNBA season, the league loses, but the players lose more.
The viewers are not going to follow. They're truly not going to follow. I think it would absolutely be catastrophic if they don't play a 2026 season. Just look at podcasting, for example, when Joe Rogan or Alex Cooper went to Spotify and how many people went over there.
The league can wait. Has NBA backing. It survived losses before. But can the players afford to lose a full season of salary, exposure, and career momentum? Can they afford to watch last season's momentum disappear while fans move on? Here's what the league said in response to the strike authorization, and this matters. They claim the union is misrepresenting negotiations. They say they're offering immediate salary increases and an uncapped revenue-sharing model. Uncapped, meaning as revenue grows, salaries grow automatically with no ceiling. The union says that offer is a slap in the face. So who's telling the truth? We don't know. These talks are happening behind closed doors, and both sides are playing the PR game. But here's what we do see. The league's statements have been measured and professional. The union is using inflammatory language and highly public strike votes that feel more theatrical than strategic. Then there's Caitlin Clark. She said they need to compromise and get back on the court. She wasn't anti-union. She was being realistic. And for that she got attacked. Nneka Ogwumike said something similar. She wants a good deal, but she also wants a season. That's not controversial. That's common sense. But in a culture obsessed with unity, anyone suggesting moderation gets labeled disloyal. Here's my prediction: a deal gets done. It won't be the 30% revenue split the union wants. The league won't budge on that. But salaries will rise significantly, maybe more than expected. Both sides will claim victory, and will get a season. But the damage is already done. The public fighting, strike threats, and conflict of interest questions have left a bad taste. Fans don't care about CBA details. They just want basketball. If this drags past January 9th and we hit a lockout or strike, it could set the league back years, right in the middle of its biggest growth moment. The 3 players who voted no understand that sometimes winning means taking a good deal instead of gambling everything on a perfect one. Because leverage, not emotion, decides negotiations. And right now, despite the optics, the players have less leverage than they think.